Namaskar, very good evening to you all. Jai Shri Krishna. Thank you for joining the Sai Satcharita Parayana. Today we will be doing the 6th chapter. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha, Om Shri Saraswataya Namaha, Om Shri Guru Dattatreya Namaha, Om Shri Mahalakshmi Namaha, Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. The Shri Sai Satcharita, the life and teachings of Shirdi Sai Baba. Chapter 6, the story of the festival of Shri Ram's birth in Shirdi. My obeisance to Shri Ganesh, to Shri Saraswati and Shri Guru Maharaj, to the family deity, to Shri Sita Ramachandra. My most humble obeisance. I bow in reverence to the most venerable Guru, Shri Sai Nath. Be it a striving after spiritual progress or after material prosperity, where Sadguru is the helmsman, he alone will steer the boat to the other shore. When the word Sadguru stirs the feelings of the heart, it is Sai who immediately comes before the mind. He in fact actually stands in front of you and places his hand of benediction on your heart. When his hand of blessing with the Udi from the Dhuni falls on your head, the heart swells with self-rejoicing, the eyes overflow with tears of love. Such is the marvel of the subtle touch of the Guru's hand that it burns up the astral body to ashes by his merest touch, which even the funeral pyre cannot consume. This is so very true. Just this evening, my Guruji was doing a beautiful satsang about Samartha Ramdas, the scripture called Das Bodh, where Samartha Ramdas was giving a teaching to his disciple how to be devoted to the Guru. How Guru is the only path from which devotion can be attained. And in that he was saying very beautifully that just the presence of the Guru will make your heart go, it's like singing its music. It'll become peaceful. The love will just, you'll be overpouring with love from within. That's the feeling you'll get. All your anger, your greed, your lust, everything will vanish. You'll find the joy. It's not the happiness, because happiness is still a state of mind. It's a blissful state that you will experience. And when you serve the Guru, the only way to attaining the spiritual wheel is through the seva unto the lotus feet of the Guru. When you do service to the Guru, you attain devotion. Just by being in his company, you will become like him. You'll start imbibing his qualities. You'll start adapting to the way of his way of life, and that is what you'll become, and that is what you have to aspire for. Most important is, how do you serve the master? Why you need to have devotion unto the master, and that's very important. It will just burn away all your sins. You'll be purged of all the sins that you have accumulated for many, many years. And then devotion will come to you. And it is only through devotion can you attain the divine. It brings peace and stability even to those who get a headache or burst out into wild, meaningless babble, even at an accidental mention about gods and their divine tales. As he places his lotus hand on the head, the sins of so many past births, which have reached a point of culmination, are all washed away, leaving Sai's loving devotees purified. This is exactly what I said. Just the touch of the Guru on your head, removes all your karmas, redeems you, liberates you, and he grants, his grace is full, is complete on you, and then you attain devotion. He bestows upon you the path and the way for you to evolve on the spiritual. He grants you everything that will help you in your spiritual wheel. It's not about the material desires. It's not about, I want to fulfill, how to live in this world. I want to attain some name, fame, recognition, have more money. I want to, become the greatest thing, CEO, president of this world, whatever that is, all that material worldly stuff. That is not what he grants you. But what he grants you is that spiritual wheel, where you will find contented. No matter how much wealth you earn, what fame you attain in the material world, that will never give you that contentment. The feeling of truth is never going to be there, because it's only a momentary happiness. Oh, you will feel very elated or feel mighty pleased if you get a Nobel Prize. but that's only short-lived. It's a momentary thing. But this love is eternal. You're always in the blissful state. You'll feel complete. You'll feel truth. Truth is feeling contented with everything that you have. You don't want to, you're not going to crave for some, I want more, I want more, I want more. You'll find that happiness and peace in the smallest things in life. That is what you'll experience. And this is what the real master and the Sadguru grants you. As the eyes rest on that comely form, you are choked by the raptured tears of joy spring to the eyes. In the heart arise the Ashtabhava. The feeling that I am that is awakened, giving the experience of the blissful joy within. Dissolving all duality, it celebrates the union with the Supreme One. Actually, it's a very profound thing. In my life, even I wanted to at some point get married. Like everybody would have a dream. Oh, I'm going to get married. I'm going to meet my Prince Charming. I want my partner in life. This is a normal human being's want. I too traverse that path at a moment in time in my life. When I met my Guru, everything transformed. The feeling that I don't need to get married, I don't have to get married was invoked, or rather I understood it when I started reading or studying Bhagavad Gita, because my faith is I am married Lord Shri Krishna, the Paramatma who lives inside my heart. Then why do I need another human being, and why should I get married to someone when I'm already married to my divine? I am complete by my own self. I don't need another human being in my world to make me feel complete. This was my conviction. I went on that path. I went on that journey. And let me tell you, today I'm the most happiest on this planet Earth. When I say happy, it's not the state of mind. It's that feeling within that I'm constantly with my divine. That is the most beautiful thing. I don't need somebody else to compliment me to become complete. I don't need another person to live my life with. I am constantly living with my own self, and that self is the Lord Almighty Himself. So why do we need any person in this world? On the contrary, I am so happy being independent, and that gives me the joy of empowering the divinity within me. Whatever sacred books, Puranas one may read, one is reminded of the Sadguru at every step. So that it is only Sai who appears as Ram or Krishna and makes us listen to his own story. As you sit down to listen to the Bhagavad, Krishna appears as none other than Sai, right from tip to toe, who is singing the Uddhav Geet for the benefit of his devotees. Even in your casual conversations, you are suddenly reminded of one or the other of Sai's stories to illustrate a point properly. You pull up a sheet of paper with the intention of writing, but cannot compose even a word. Yet, when Sai himself, with his grace, inspires you to write, you know not how to stop the flow of words. I was telling my Krishna Guruji that I have so much thoughts. When I say thoughts, it's not my thoughts. There's so many things my mind is throwing up. I want to say this. I want to say this about what is Baba talking here. But my words cannot cope up with the speed that my mind is going. But I know that Baba himself, through me, will make the right words come. And this exposition will be given by himself. I am just a conduit. I am just an instrument in his hands who is making me, making me to read his leelas to you. And we both are partaking this beautiful nectarine, sweet glories of the divine, and by which we are purifying our heart, mind, and we are surrendering unto this divine being. Wherever ego raises its head, he firmly presses it underneath his own hand. In addition, by pouring his grace into the devotee, he brings fulfillment to him. When you surrender at the feet of Sai Samarth in act, speech and thought, then Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha, the four ends of human life, come into the hands automatically. The four paths of karma, action, jnana, knowledge, yoga and bhakti, devotion, are for the attainment of God. Though they proceed in four different directions, they all lead you to God realization. What it simply translates into that we have to do our swadharma, we have to do our duties, we have to do karma, we have to learn the knowledge, we have to have bhakti, and all these things is only leading to one, which is God realization. Our end goal is fixed. There are no two ways about it. But what we have to do is, as a body, it has some karmas, which means it has a purpose to serve in this world. And we cannot say, oh, I don't want to do anything and just sit relaxed. No, the most important thing is you have to put in way too much effort. And especially when you're on the path of spiritual, there is no relaxation. You cannot take a holiday. I mean, when I say holiday, you don't have a holiday saying, oh, I'm going to relax today, and today I'm not going to go to gym, or today I'm not going to do exercise, today I want to get up late. Those things doesn't work here. It is all about discipline. It is all about doing things in clockwork precision and doing it every single day without fail. You're not going to give any reasons for why you can't get up today or why you haven't eaten your food in time. Everything must be done. So there is no time to relax here. And that is spirituality all about. Whether it is Shri Ram, Shri Krishna, or Jesus Christ, they all, where they wore themselves out in doing their karma to the highest of their abilities. They were the perfect beings, and yet demonstrating how to live in the material world while fulfilling every duty to the highest of the ability and to the utmost perfection. That is very important. The path of devotion, bhakti, is like the way through a forest of the prickly babul trees, full of pits and holes and difficult to cross. Though it is a narrow pathway, for only one person, it directly takes you near God. The easiest way to traverse is to take every step carefully to avoid the thorns. Only then will you reach your eternal abode without fear. This is what Guru, the mother, warns you clearly. Why a guru is important is this is what is mentioned here. The Guru knows what are the obstacles that is on the path towards God realization. So the Guru holds your hand and walks you through that path. But walking is your duty. Walking is your effort. Walking you must. But he's going to tell you, don't go here because there is a pitfall, or don't do this because you're going to stumble and fall here because there's a huge roadblock on your way. So he's always giving you the precaution. You have to listen to him and act accordingly. But if you listen to your mind and say, no, I will evolve, no, the pitfall is going to be sure. An example, simple example, the Guru teaches you, please do not get angry. That means you have to practice not reacting. You have to practice to stay calm. But if you do not listen and give in to your mind, then you're definitely going to fall. That this is what is mentioned here, that the devotion is not so easy to attain as it looks like. The path of devotion is very difficult. There are going to be a lot of tests in your way. The thorns are nothing but they are the tests. You are going to be tested as to how much faith you have for the divine, how much devotion you have, how much you really want the divine. Because it's not just saying, oh, I'm devoted to Krishna, Lord Shri Krishna, or I'm devoted to Lord Shri Ram, and I'm so much devoted, but you're not willing to take any risk for them. How does it work? So the divine wants to know how truly or how sincerely you're going to seek him. I'll give you a very interesting example that happened. At one point in life, in my own spiritual journey, there was a point where it came that my mother, she herself is a devotee of Lord Shri Krishna, but at that moment, somewhere she felt this Maya was put in front of her and me by the universe, because it was my test of faith in my Guru and my God. At that time she said, you have to choose between your Krishna or me. I don't know what you do, because you're going away from me. So you're my daughter. I need you. So you have to get married. You have to choose between one of us. I just told her one very simple thing. Ma, I choose Lord Shri Krishna. And if that is the will, the way the Lord has to work, let him work. So, that one thing that I mentioned evolved much beyond. And today, my mother herself is an ardent devotee of the Lord. So the Lord brings you on his path. But the tests were put. How much are you going to fight for him? There is a very beautiful way. The Lord sees how much you can stand and fight this world of Maya. A similar thing happened. Few of my friends said, what are you doing? You need to be getting married and just settling like everybody else. Why are you into the spiritual? You're just getting lost. You're wasting your life and blah, blah, blah. All that they said to me. And I fought back. I said, what do you mean? I am married to my Lord Shri Krishna. He's my husband. He's my beloved. He's my everything. In this, earlier in one of the verses, it said, Ashtabhav, the 8 forms of bhakti, devotion. I experience my Lord Shri Krishna in that entire Ashtabhav. So he's the highest to me. So what are you talking about? And how can you do this? And I fought with her. And I fought with few of my other friends. And I completely, I didn't want to, discuss anything further. But that is what the divine sees. Can you fight? You think the material worldly relationships have more value because you have grown up together for your friends and your parents have given you birth. But beyond all this relation, there is one relation which is to eternity. The one bond which can never get severed, and that is Lord Shri Krishna's, the bond with the divine. You're always you're in bondage with the divine. That is what you need to understand. These material relationships is just momentary. In this life, they are your parents, your friends or relatives, whatever, whoever they might be. You're just there. It's like meeting these people and then everybody goes on. There's nothing you come with, nothing you go with. And it is just, you're born through them because that's how it's meant to be. But they are not your real parents or they are not your real relatives or friends. The only relative that you have is the Lord himself. So know that. That is the highest relation that you can ever have. And to me, this is my conviction and that is what I live. But the divine doesn't say you don't do your duties. I'm the best daughter to my parents. I'm the best friend to my friends. That's what the Lord teaches you, how to be a good human being and do service unto the human beings, a service unto the world, his entire creation. We have to serve his universe. That is what the divine teaches. It's not just because it's my mother that I take care. I have to look after every other mother as my own mother. That is the real aspect of service. That is the real way of looking at divinity and to see God in everybody. When the rich fertile soil of the mind is sprinkled with the water of devotion, renunciation sprouts, knowledge blossoms. Kaivalya comes to fruition and the rapture thereof bursts forth. Avoiding of birth and death is then a certainty. The primal supreme soul is by itself perfect. He is also the threefold nature of Sat, Chit and Anand, which means truth, knowledge and bliss. Due to natural properties disguising the spirit, it is awakened and manifests itself for instructing devotees. As simple as this. The divine, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, the Brahma manifests in the form of a Sadguru and he comes and teaches us how to attain the God, how to follow the path of Dharma, how to follow the path of righteousness and how to do our Swadharma so that we can reach our destination. As the Brahman became manifest through its three said attributes, Maya, illusion, became active too, and manifested her properties by stirring up Sattva, righteous harmony, Rajas, activity or motion, and Tamas, inertia or darkness. Really, it is clay molded to a particular shape that is called a pot. But when it breaks, the name, form and identity, everything leaves it. The whole world is created out of Maya. They are both thus related to each other as cause and effect. In fact, it is Maya who has assumed a form and has appeared as the manifest world. So beautifully put. Everything is the creation, everything that is created and the creation is nothing but an illusion because it's unreal, it's Maya alone. The divine just manifests. Like he says, this body is like a pot. When it breaks, it leaves its entire identity. Today I have a name, I have a form, I'm born to somebody, but that is not real. The real identity is I am none other than that divine being alone. I am that self. That is the real identity of mine, which I have forgotten because I've donned this garb of this body, and this body has a name called RajShree. Who has given me this name? So who is this RajShree? That is exactly what you need to question. Who are you? You need to ask this question to understand and realize that this entire form, name, everything, this whole creation, the aspect of properties, the sattva, rajas and tamas, the three gunas are nothing but are the creation of the prakriti, the maya. So they are all unreal. But everything is the manifestation of the divine itself. And that is why we have to see God in everything and also realize that the entire created world is unreal. Only the God alone is the truth. If the state of this Maya prior to the creation of the world is considered, she had not manifested herself but was absorbed in the Supreme and gathered together in the unmanifest. Manifest or unmanifest, Maya has always been a part of the Supreme Being. Hence this Maya is the Supreme Being and quite inseparable from it. From Tamoguna, inertia, Maya created the material objects, lifeless and motionless. This was her first act of creation. We are just saying Maya is none other than the Lord's own energy. The Lord, Maya and the Lord are inseparable. They are one alone. But she manifests when the creation happens. She creates. When the creation comes into existence, then we say, okay, that is my own extension. It is a divine being's own extension. So we need to understand this truth and evolve to attaining the divine and not get carried away in the illusions of this unreal world, which is Maya. Then as the Rajoguna, motion, combined with the life force of the Supreme Being, it opened up a whole world of consciousness, a variety of moving creatures by virtue of the aspects of both. The Sattva Guna, righteousness of this Maya, then created the intellect, which when permeated with the divine bliss, brought the sport of creation to completion. It is nothing but the sport. It's a leela. It's a play of the divine where they manifest and his own extensions comes into the world. And this, we see this huge creation and everything is so profound. It's like the Athanga Sagar, the limitless ocean where you cannot measure the breadth and the depth of the ocean. This universe is also like that. You cannot measure its vastness, and that's who the divine being are. Thus Maya is susceptible to great modifications so long as she is not stirred into action and does not create the above mentioned things. The three gunas remain unmanifest. So what here is saying is that this is before the creation happens. They say that when the stirring happened from Purusha, who's placid comes from that the Prakriti, and from Prakriti the entire creation happens. So the stirring happens. That happens, you don't know how that works. It's just the divine Leela. And how this whole thing happens is very beautiful. And don't go into this dissecting how this creation happened, because that's not relevant. More important is that we have to attain devotion to the Guru. But here the knowledge Baba is just giving this knowledge to say that this whole world is nothing but the extension of the divine, yet it is unreal. Maya is not manifest until she becomes active in her three gunas. Know that as long as she herself remains passive, she can remain unmanifest. Maya is the creation of the Supreme Being, while this world is the creation of Maya. All the visible world is Brahman, means that all these three, that is the Supreme Being, Maya and the world are one. That is why we always have to see God in everything, because this is nothing but the extension of the divine alone. So the Maya is created by the Supreme Being, and from Maya comes this entire creation. Those in whose mind there is a keen desire to know how this unity can be experienced should see the Vedas. Exactly what Baba said. If you need to know more, go read the scriptures and understand. But this knowledge only can be imparted by the Guru alone. A study of Vedas, Shruti and Smriti will give the power of discrimination between real and unreal, which will give the experience that the Guru's word is itself the Vedanta. This will in turn be conducive to the highest bliss. Very true. That's exactly what I said. It's only the Guru who can expound on this, the truth of what this creation is all about. What is the Vedanta? What is the real and the unreal? That is what you need to understand. And once you learn that, then you'll understand what it is to be in a blissful state. And that is what you have to get the knowledge for. Shri Sai's devotees have always known that he gave an assurance to the effect that in the homes of his devotees, there will be no want of food and clothing. I consider it to be my promise to look after the sustenance and protection of those who worship me single-mindedly and serve me with reverence in their hearts. Absolutely. When you surrender to the Guru and when you have single-pointed devotion unto the lotus feet of the Guru, then it is a promise not just the Guru makes, but also Lord Shri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says, nothing shall befall my devotees. Whatever is needed, it will all be taken care of. Whether it is food, whether it is clothing, everything the divine will look after. But you need to serve and be you need to serve and have single-pointed devotion to the divine, to the Guru. That is what you need to have. His grace is always on his devotee's head. Please do not forget this. When you take the name from your heart with utmost sincerity and with single-pointedness, solely having none in your mind, trust me, I will say this, his grace and hand is always on you. In what form he comes, you may not know, but always seek for that grace to recognize him when he comes. This is the affirmation in Bhagavad Gita, which Sai says should be taken as the truth. Exactly what I said here. There will be no want of food and clothing. Do not strive after these. Yes, the divine takes care of it. Don't go after it. Don't run for it. What has to come to you, the divine knows. He will anyways grant it for you. Why are you bothered about how my life is going to be? What is it going to be? Where am I going to get the food from? Whether my mother's sickness will go away or my parents will be taken care. None you have to bother. You just have to surrender. You just have to have single-pointed devotion, ekagrat, and have that absolute faith and surrender and have patience. The divine will take care of everything. You don't even have to open your mouth and ask. Know that they are all knowing. They know what's going on, and what is right for you, they will bestow upon you. And what they bestow is far beyond what even your mind could have ever asked for. It is so profound, and this is something my experience. My mind is very petty. It will ask for some small things, but trust me, when the divine on his own will grants, I wouldn't even have fathomed such beautiful thing is what they will grant. And that is sinless. That comes with purity, and that comes with grace. So it will be with you and it will last. Seek honor in the court of God. Beseech his grace alone. Strive to attain only his blessing and do not hanker for worldly honors. Why should just a nod of their heads by the people in appreciation turn your head? Rather, it should be your chosen deity, whose heart should melt in compassion and burst out into beads of perspiration. And may you love to strive after such an objective. May all the senses be seized by devotional passion and the sensual desires be so transformed as to sprout into devotional worship instead. Oh, how wonderful it would then be. Absolutely. We should not strive for petty things in life. We should not ask for marriage, job. I keep repeating the same thing, but Baba is also saying the same thing. Why? Because we human beings do not understand. The same things have to be told to us 1,000,000 and 1,000,000,000 times till it finally enters and it establishes within our heart. May such worship be forever, leaving no relish for anything else. May the mind be absorbed in my name, and all else be totally forgotten. The mind will then become detached from the physical body, household concerns and wealth, and will be in divine bliss. It will attain equanimity and serenity, ultimately finding fulfillment. This is so important. Here is a very beautiful word that is mentioned, and that's called equanimity. What does this equanimity means? It means you are not getting swayed when you have riches, or when you are not getting swayed when you have no money and someday finally you are on streets. Both should not disturb you. Do not worry about success, or do not bother when you fail in life. Don't care about happy, joy, sad, good, bad, all those pairs of opposites. Never bother about any of those things. Have ekagrat, have equanimity of mind. When you do not sway, that is when you will attain the blissful state. We either like somebody, we hate somebody, we're constantly onto this yo, continuously our mind keeps doing this. Why should you be bothered about? Just surrender unto the will of the Lord and just say just say to the divine, do what you choose, what you think is right for me. I'll give you a very beautiful story in which Ramakrishna Paramhamsa Ji in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna has mentioned that the mother feeds different there's a fish, and the mother makes different dishes of the same fish and feeds her children. She knows what is somebody's palate. So if somebody likes a fish fry, she will make fish fry for them. If somebody likes a curry, she's going to make fish curry for them. And to another person, a fish biryani is made. So it's the fish, but it is served in 3 different varieties. So the mother knows exactly what is good for you, and that she gives. Similarly, the divine knows what is right for you, and they will give you that. So you don't ask or you don't demand. Your only ask has to be that I have to evolve on my spiritual path, and just have that equanimity of mind. What is due to you will anyways come to you. Do not forget this. A contented mind is the surest mark of being in saintly company. How can a restless mind that flits from one object to another be deemed to be one with the Supreme? When you have this wavering mind, right, you cannot have the ekagrata. You cannot be lost in the divine. You cannot even focus on the divine. You have to always meditate unto that object of your ishta. We say your ishta means that which is your most favorite. Which is what you want to worship. So you have to keep that in your mind constantly and be focusing on that. But if you have this mind which is going on to different objects, it's dwelling on different subjects, which is not going to give you progress, what is the point then? Then you can never be one with the divine. This is what Baba is teaching here. Hence, O listeners, give all attention as you listen to this narration with loving devotion. And may your mind turn to devotion while listening to this life story of Sai. Please listen with love. Please listen with devotion. It will benefit you. We are not doing this so that somebody else benefits. We are doing this so that you and me can benefit from this. As the story progresses further, it will bring contentment. The restive mind will become restful. All agitation will be quietened, and peace and happiness will reign. But now, let us continue with the story narrated previously about the renovation of the mosque and about the birth of Shri Ram. There was a devotee called Gopal Gand who had great devotion for Baba and who spent his time in the ceaseless chanting of Baba's name. He had no issue, but later on, with Sai's blessing, a son was born to him. This made him very happy. Gopal Gand felt that a fair yatra or celebration should be held every year at the Shirdi village, which will bring joy to everyone. Tatya Kote, Dada Kote, Madhav Rao and other prominent people in the village liked the idea and began making preparations for it. But the celebrations of such annual festivals was subject to a regulation according to which the permission of the district collector was necessary. But when the attempts were made to obtain it, the Kulkarni, the revenue officer of the village, maliciously opposed it, thus creating obstacles in the way. Please know that nothing is so easy to get done in the divine's life or in our own life when it is concerning a divine. There are always going to be obstacles, not because they don't want that event to happen, but to see how you overcome that obstacle so that you can evolve, so that the guru or the divine being sees how much you want it. It's just a simple test, and celebrations are there so that you can come together to have this beautiful devotional service along with everybody done and performed to the divine. As a result of the objections raised by the Kulkarni, the district collector passed an order that the fair should not be held at Shirdi, but it was Baba's wish too, that this fair should be held in Shirdi, and he had given his consent with his blessings for it. The villagers pursued the matter with determination and tried their utmost, with the result that the order was reversed by the authorities in deference to the wishes of all. From then onwards, with Baba's consent, it was decided to hold the fair on Ram Navami day. Tatya Kote supervised all the arrangements. Multitudes now gathered every year for this fair. On the day of Ram Navami, puja and bhajan singing took place amidst drums, drum beats and sweet music made by musical instruments. Pilgrims from all directions flocked to Shirdi for the festivities. Every year, 2 new flags used to be taken out in a procession, ceremoniously to be tied to the spire of the mosque and later to be fixed there. Of these, one was Nimonkar's, the other Damu Anna's. Both these taken in a grand procession would be fluttering high up at the tip of the spire. Now listening to the interesting account of how the idea of celebrating Ram Navami originated from the celebration of the Urus, which is the honor that Shirdi gives to the deity. In the year 1911, Ram Navami was first celebrated and the idea had originated from the Urus. It continues to be celebrated uninterrupted to this day. The idea was first conceived by the well-known Kirtankar Krishna Jageshwar Bhishma, who felt that the birth of Sri Ram should be celebrated for it would be beneficial to all. See, when we do this celebration, it is not just to pander to our own egos thinking that we want to do celebration. Celebration has a very profound meaning. When we call all the devotees of the Lord, we sing praises, we are spreading the joy and love of being in the holy company and also purifying each other. It's called satsang, coming together and celebrating. It's being with the satsangis. And all of our goal is to attain the divine, and the divine is also pleased, because we celebrate and merry make all other things which is only towards the sensual pleasures, but this celebration will elevate your spiritual growth. That is why we have to celebrate, and the divine loves when all the devotees come together to sing their praises and glories. He is very happy and bestows upon each one that which they deserve. Till then, only the Urus and the fair were being held on a large scale every year. But out of it, there arose the idea of the wonderful celebration of the birth of Rama that year. Once as Bhishma sat in the Vada at his leisure, Kaka Mahajani was getting ready to go to the mosque with all the articles of puja. With the purpose of Sai's darshan in mind and also to enjoy the festivities of the Urus, Kaka would always be present in Shirdi a day earlier for the celebrations. Finding the time to be opportune, Bhishma then asked Kaka, "To my mind has come a really good idea, but will you help me in carrying it out?" Urus is held here every year. It is also the day of the birth of Ram and therefore affords us an opportunity to celebrate the occasion without any extra effort. Kaka liked the idea and said, "Take Baba's permission. All depends on his word. Thereafter, of course, there will be no delay in the matter." But there still remained the question of arranging for the kirtan, for that would be necessary for such a celebration. Where would one find a Haridas to perform the kirtan in a village? The difficulty remained. Bhishma then said, "I will be the kirtankar and you accompany me on the harmonium. Radha Krishna Bai will prepare the Santavada as prasad for the occasion. Come then, let us go to Baba. Any delay in an auspicious piece of work always creates problems. A good work accomplished speedily ensures success right away. Come, let us go and ask his permission for performing the kirtan." So saying, they both then went to the mosque. It's a very important lesson here. The lesson is this: anything when we have to do, first is we have to obtain the permission of the divine. And when we have the permission of the divine, you don't have to worry how the things will fall in place. Everything will fall in its place perfectly. And those who have to come there, those who have to perform, whatever that it takes, the divine himself will work it out. I'll tell you a very beautiful story that happened in my Guruji's case. He had to go to Peru. He was going to South America. He was going to Peru. And at that time, what happened? we didn't know this, that he needed a transit visa. So we booked his tickets. I think first was through Lufthansa. So he went to the airport, and when he checked in, they said no, he can't travel because he doesn't have a US visa or a transit visa. So they sent him back. So we were all very upset. Oh my God, now how is my Guruji going to go there? He was supposed to go with one of his students who was going to meet him in one of those, at a point, I think in Brazil. So they were supposed to meet him there, and from there they had the further journey that they had already planned. The tickets were booked, everything was done. So huge obstacle. My Guruji student was quite upset. He didn't know what to do. So the next day we booked through another airline, and they said no, you can go through, you don't need any transit visa or whatever. The second time my Guruji went to the airport, again he was sent back saying the same story, that no, he needs a transit visa. We fought tooth and nail. We didn't give up. Everybody is like, oh, now he can't go, you can't go at all. See, why the obstacle, we don't know. But he wanted to see how much we're going to fight. I was at that moment in time in Singapore, and my Guruji student was in US. So we were on call literally like 8 hours trying to fight and figuring out how do we resolve. Finally, I worked out through another airline, that is Emirates. We had a call with them. We discussed everything. Finally, they said no, he can fly to Dubai. From Dubai, he can fly to Sao Paulo, 14 hours non-stop. So finally, we found a solution. And then he finally, third time, he went to the airport and he made it. The beauty here was, yes, he had to come back twice, but we were all very upset. We don't know how he was going to go. His student was so disappointed. He already thought he's not going to come. But there is always a way. The divine sees, are you going to put effort so that he could go there? See, the whole event has already been predefined. It's programmed that it has to happen like this. But it is your effort they seek. So don't worry about it. Even if there is an obstacle, there is always a solution. The divine wants to see, are you ready for that solution or not? That is the whole beauty of it. At once, Baba put the same, as Kaka began performing the puja, it was Baba who first asked the question. So, what was going on in the Vada? But it did not occur to Kaka to ask the relevant question. At once, Baba put the same question differently to Bhishma. So, Bua, what do you say? He asked Bhishma. It was then that Kaka suddenly remembered and told him what they wished to do. Baba approved of their idea and the celebration was decided upon. Next day in the morning, as soon as they saw Baba going to the Lendi, they tied up a cradle in the Sabha Mandap amidst their ceremonial preparations for the performance of the Kirtan. At the appropriate time, an audience gathered together for the Kirtan. Baba returned from the Lendi. Bhishma got up to begin. Kaka took his seat in front of the harmonium, and suddenly Kaka was sent for by Baba. Baba has called you, the message came. Kaka was terrified on hearing these words. Why should his mind have any misgivings? He could not understand, but hoped that nothing would mar the spirit of the Kirtan. On hearing Baba's message, Kaka trembled in his shoes with fright. Why should Baba be so agitated in his mind? Will the Kirtan proceed without a hurdle or not? He worried. In his nervous anxiety, he faltered at every step as he climbed the steps of the mosque with slow, heavy footsteps. Baba then asked him why the cradle was tied there. And when it was briefly explained to him about the Kirtan and the plans for the celebration, Baba was delighted. Then from a niche in the wall nearby, he took out a beautiful garland and put it round Kaka's neck, giving him another one for Bhishma. Baba's question about the cradle had caused great anxiety, but on seeing Kaka thus honoured with a garland, everyone was relieved. Bhishma was really a versatile man, well versed in religious lore. Naturally, his Kirtan was full of spirit and beauty and enthralled the audience. Baba's face had a pleased expression too. As he had given his consent, so he now got the celebrations performed by the devotees along with bhajan and kirtan. In the hour of Ram's birth, particles of gulal, red powder, got into Baba's eyes as it was being freely showered during the ceremony, and then it was as if Baba had become Narsimhan incarnate and not the infant Rama in the palace of Kaushalya. But Gulal was just a pretext. His furious expression was really a manifestation of his fervor at the birth of Sri Ram, who would destroy the demonic forces of the ego and other evil propensities of man. So true. Here the divine is still saying this, you don't have to be afraid. You have to just put in your effort. But when there is a permission from Baba himself, why are you fearing? Baba always says a very beautiful sentence, which is, why fear when I am here? So you don't have to. When your intentions are good and it is only to serve the divine will always bless and ensure that no obstacles are befalls you or on the path of making those preparations. There are going to be challenges, but know that they themselves will open up the right channel for you to get those things done. And this is the beauty of it. Even as I read this scripture, I have a slight nervousness every single day, but I know it is Baba who has put me to read this, and his grace is there so that I can evolve through this scripture very beautifully and narrate whatever the stories that has to come from my mouth will flow through him alone. He's the one who's working through me to get the stories out to you. Such is his divine grace. All of a sudden, his anger flared up, and he appeared to be Narasimha himself in his rage. A volley of curses and abuses ensued, coming in a torrent. Radha Krishna Bai was greatly agitated, fearing in her mind that the cradle would now fall into pieces. How to keep it whole was the problem that confronted her. She kept on urging and pressing that cradle be taken down quickly. So Kaka moved forward to untie it. This irritated Baba greatly. He became quite fierce and snappish and rushed forward aggressively as if to attack Kaka. The untying of the cradle was stayed. Slowly Baba also calmed down. Later that afternoon, permission was sought to take it down, when Baba said in great surprise, "How can you take the cradle down just yet? There is still need for it." What could be this need? I thought, for Sai's words are never in vain. And then I realized that all the ceremonies were not yet complete. The ceremonies had been performed for the particular day, but until the next day dawned and the Gopal Kala was over, the festival could not be deemed to be over. In this way, Kirtan, Gopal Kala, etc. were performed the next day, and then Baba gave permission to take down the cradle. Next year, Bhishma was not available, so Bala Bua Satarkar was approached for performing the Kirtan, but he had to go to Kavte and was not available too. So Kaka Mahajani brought another Kirtankar by the name Bala Bua Bhajani, known widely as the modern Tukaram. The ceremonies were performed at his hands. Even if he had not been available, Kaka would have himself stood up for the Kirtan, for he knew by heart the Katha for Ram Navami composed by Das Ganu. In the third year, Bala Bua Satarkar himself came to Shirdi at the appropriate time. Now listen carefully how this came about. See, whether it is prayers, whether it is performance, whether it is celebrations, the divine uses different people. Only those who have to do that will be present over there. It is not anybody who wish to can be there. You need that grace. It is not anybody who wants to just say, "Oh, I want to come and perform," can happen. There has to be the divine's appointed timing, and only then they will be able to come. Sometimes people don't turn up. There is a reason why they might not come. It is not because they didn't want to come, because the divine didn't want them at that moment in time. The divine ways are completely unfathomable. We don't know why they do what they do. We don't know why they say what they say. But everything has deep, profound meaning to it. We just need to listen and act upon it, but never question them. Why? Do not question ever. Having heard of Sai Baba's fame, a desire for his darshan arose in his mind. But he wanted some company on the way, and how to get that was his worry. Bala Bua was himself a Haridas and originally came from Satara, but was at this time staying at Parle, Bombay. In the Satara district, there is a shrine called Brihat Siddha Kavate, and Bua received an annual allowance for performing there on the occasion of Ram Navami. but was really concerned with two annual festivals there, with Ashadi Ekadashi in July and August and Ram Navami in Chaitra, which is in March to April. According to a charter of the Mughal Emperor Akbar, a sum of rupees 124 had been sanctioned for the expenses and was accordingly allotted for the expenses of the deity as per the original scheme of the Sangli Sanstan. And so, for these two festivals, Bua received an allowance of 30 rupees. But that year, cholera broke out at Kavte and the villagers faced a problem. Hence, Ram Navami could not be celebrated. Bua received letters from the village saying that he should come next year as the whole village was deserted. In short, that year he lost the chance of serving Rama and receiving his allowance. But this was his opportunity to go to Shirdi. So he met Dikshit in this connection. Please know that everything happens for good alone. Sometimes we think an event is happening in our life which is a bad event according to us. But know that there is no bad event. Everything happens for good alone. Even in that event, there is something beautiful that is coming up. But we don't have the eyes to see that. We only think, oh, there's something really terrible, cholera broke out. But it was meant to be for some good alone. But what we see is only the bad aspect of it. So always have this faith. No matter what happens, it all happens for good, and there is always a progress in it. And look out for that progress, and always be contented with why certain things happen. Accept that. Acceptance is key, and also knowing that nothing is going to befall you with absolute conviction is very important. And have that conviction. Never give up, no matter what that event might be. He thought that Dikshit was such a great devotee of Baba. If he takes it in his mind and then he wished to go to Shirdi, will be fulfilled, and thus both his purposes of self-interest and spiritual benefit will be served. So he said to Dikshit, this year I have missed my annual allowance, so I felt that I should take Baba's darshan and also perform kirtan at Shirdi. Bahu Sahib Dikshit then replied, about the allowance, there is no guarantee. To give it or not is entirely in Baba's hands, and as for kirtan, his permission will be needed for that too. Even as they were talking thus, Kaka Mahajani came there quite unexpectedly, and he gave Udi and Prasad from Shirdi to everybody, which was considered as a good omen. Mahajani had just come from Shirdi at that time and had come to say that all was well at Shirdi. Soon he went back to his house. So Dikshit then very lovingly said to Bua that he would seek Baba's permission, and if given, he would definitely let him know. And that when the letter came, Bua should come to Shirdi without worrying about the travelling expenses. For that, one should not trouble oneself and entertain any doubts in one's mind. Later on, Dikshit went to Shirdi. Baba also gave his consent. Bala Bua then came to Shirdi and had Baba's darshan to his heart's content. Sai Baba also very lovingly had the kirtan performed in front of him with all the ceremonies and festivities of Ram Navami at the hands of Bala Bua. Bala Bua on his part was very pleased that his objective was fulfilled, and so was Sai. Everybody was thus satisfied. Bua was remunerated handsomely. 150 rupees was paid to him by Baba's command. Bua's joy knew no bounds. This is how the divine works. You don't even have to ask. They will bestow upon you. And when they bestow upon you, you would have attained the highest weal in your life. Anything that comes from them on their own will, take it as a prasad. That is the highest offering, the most purest one. It will always be with you, and it will always have goodwill and the blessing of the divine attached to it. This is how the divine works. Their way is completely unfathomable. You cannot even comprehend them. It's beyond what you can imagine. It's beyond your mind's ken and understanding. This is how the divine works. However, later on, when for Baba had given him for that one festival an amount which he would have received after 5 years in Kavte, why then should Bala Bua not rejoice and be grateful to Baba? Yes, we need to be grateful and have gratitude for what the divine bestows upon us, because we always are a human being, ungrateful creatures. They don't value what the divine does. They always still calculate in the mind. Oh, I would have got so much, I would have got so less. Please don't become petty. Be very grateful for everything that God has bestowed upon you in your life. However, later on, when Das Gunu had once come to Shirdi, the annual festival was entrusted to him thereafter with Baba's permission. From then till now, the birth celebrations of Ram take place with pomp and pageantry, food being plentiful, served to one and all, even to the lowliest of the low, and to their great joy and satisfaction. On the occasion at the portals of the Samadhi Mandir and amidst the resounding of the musical instruments rises the chant of Sai's name to fill the skies and suffuse them with waves of joy. As with the holding of the fair of or Urus, so was Gopalgan also inspired with the idea of renovating and beautifying the dilapidated mosque. Devotee Gopalgan decided that even the mosque should be properly renovated, and that too at his own hands. So he got the stones ready, but it appears that Gan was not to play a part in the renovation work, and later, as per Baba's wishes, a good opportunity came for accomplishing this piece of work. It now seems that Baba wanted this to be done by Nana Sahib Chandorkar and wished that Kaka Sahib Dikshit should then get the floor paved. And so it came to pass a little later. At first, they tried in vain to get his permission until they were exhausted. Malsapati was then asked to meditate. Only then did Baba give his consent. However, then the flooring of the mosque was paved overnight. Then from the very next day, Baba started using a cushioned seat. In the year 1911, a portico, Sabha Mandap, was built. But oh, what a Herculean effort it involved. What toil and bother. Besides, it made them all tremble with fear. See, only those, like I said earlier, the divine has a plan how they want certain things to be done and by whom it has to be done. Everybody can aspire, everybody can desire, but the completion of the work from the chosen ones is how it gets it done. It is not your wish. You can wish, but it's ultimately the divine will alone. That is exactly what they say. And it always requires a Herculean effort. There needs to be more effort put in. It's not going to come to you on a platter. You have to work hard for it. However, that piece of work was also completed with arduous efforts by the devotees in the same way, under the same circumstances in one night. With great effort, the devotees would ram the columns at night. The next morning, Baba would start pulling them out. Seizing an opportunity, the devotees would fix them again. Thus would the effort exhaust them all. All would gird their loins, turning night into day, and toil away to fulfill the one great desire of their hearts. Originally, it was an open space with a tiny yard in it, when Dikshit thought would be suitable for building a portico. No matter how much money it required, but they bought iron columns and angled brackets, and seeing that Baba had gone to the Chavdi for the night, they accomplished the task. Working it all night, the devotees would thus ram the columns with great effort. No sooner Baba returned from the Chavdi in the morning than he would begin pulling them all out. We don't know why the divine works in a funny manner, but there is a profound reason behind it. We cannot understand, we cannot question, but you have to put your effort, continue to pursuing that matter till you reach that destination, and the answer will come by divine grace alone, and the Guru themselves will bless it and show you why some things are meant to be that way, why they are doing certain things. Then on one occasion, Baba lost his temper. Holding Tatya by his neck with one hand, with the other he tried to tug at the column in an attempt to pull it out. Shaking the column vigorously, he loosened it. Then he took out Tatya's turban and, lighting it up with a matchstick, threw it into a pit in great fury. At that time, his eyes appeared to be like balls of fire. Who dared look him in the face at that time? They all lost their nerve. At once he then put his hand in the pocket and took out a 1 rupee coin, which he threw into the pit too, as if to mark the auspicious moment. Curses, abuses came down in shower. Tatya was terrified at heart, A very tricky situation had arisen. But how did this happen? People were all stunned. Why such an ominous portent today? How can Tatya Patil be rescued from this calamity? They wondered. Bhagoji Shinde made bold and cautiously moved forward, only to fall an easy prey to Baba's wrath. He too was belabored by Baba to his heart's content. I will take 5 more minutes. There's another few more verses, so let us complete this chapter. Apologies for the delay. Please be with me. Even Madhav got caught and was rewarded with Baba's favor in the form of a few bricks hurled at him. Whoever else tried to meditate similarly received Baba's grace, that is bricks. Even as people were still wondering as to who will dare to go in front of Baba. How can Tatya be freed? Baba's anger slowly began to cool down and finally he calmed down completely. A cloth merchant was sent for at once and a turban with a gold border was ordered. Baba himself got it tied round Tatya's head as if to bestow upon him a mark of honor from a Raja. But people were still puzzled as to the cause of this sudden anger of the attack on Tatya with all the abusings and reviling. For what reason did he flare up so? And in a moment, how did he appear so pleased and happy? The reason behind all this could not be understood at all by anyone. This is so true. You cannot ever understand the Guru's ways. You'll wonder what's going to happen. What did I do? You're going to be constantly afraid of it. Sometimes the Guru just flares up on you. But you know what? Every word, every flare that comes out of his mouth is a blessing. It's such a great blessing. You don't know the power of his flare up, his abuses, his curses. They are blessing from his mouth. And one slap, you will immediately attain liberation. That is the grace of the Guru. You will hear more about this in the coming chapters and we'll talk at length. Sometimes he would be so calm and composed and would converse lovingly, sometimes in a flash and without apparent reason. His mind would be in great agitation. Such then are the tales of Baba. As you are narrating one another comes to my mind, bewildering the narrator's mind as to which he should narrate and which keep back. Moreover, it is not really correct to be partial in the selection. Nor can I bring myself to be partial. Whichever tale is appropriate for the occasion will find its way to the reader to satisfy his desire to listen to these tales. And now listen in the next chapter to the stories of the past heard from the mouths of old people, which I shall narrate according to my capacity, whether Sai Baba was Hindu or Muslim. How the money taken under the pretext of Dakshina was used by him for the renovation of old temples, how he mortified his flesh through Dhoti Poti and Khanda Yoga, how he toiled for the welfare of others and warded off the difficulties of his devotees. All this will become clear in the next chapter and will satisfy the listeners. We'll be to all. Here ends the 6th chapter of Shri Sai Satcharita called The Story of the Festival of Shri Ram's Birth, as inspired by the saints and the virtuous and composed by his devotee Hemad Pant. Thank you so much and apologies for the extra time and thank you for staying with me. See you tomorrow. Om Shri Mahaganapate Namaha. Om Shri Gurudev Datta. Om Shri Sachidananda Sadguru Sainath Maharaj Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Digambara Digambara Shripad Vallabha Digambara. Om Shri Krishna Guru Nathanataya Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Devi Durgaya Namaha. Om Shri Krishna Arpanam Namastu. Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum.